In naam van de Raad van Bestuur en van de directie van Xeikon heet ik u van harte welkom op de presentatie van het eerste product van het bedrijf. De eerste digitale kleurendrukpers ter wereld. Voor Xeikon is dit uiteraard een heel belangrijke gebeurtenis. En waar kan dit dan beter gevierd worden dan in het hartje van de culturele hoofdstad van Europa. Die van in de middeleeuwen met professionele drukkers met wereldfaam zoals Christoffel Plantijn een cruciale rol heeft gespeeld bij het ontstaan en de ontwikkeling van drukprocedés. Waar schilders als Rubens en Van Dijk met hun palet kleur hebben gebracht. En Xeikon heeft die beide, digitale kleurendruk, samengebracht in een machine die een wereldprimeur betekent. Het Elzenveld, gevestigd in het middeleeuwse Sint-Elisabeth-gasthuis, verenigt middeleeuwse glorie met de eisen van een hedendaags congrescentrum en biedt ons deze namiddag dan ook een ideaal kader voor deze presentatie. Mesdames et messieurs, au nom du conseil d'administration et de la direction de Xeikon, je vous souhaite la bienvenue à la présentation du premier produit de Xeikon, une première mondiale, la presse quadrichromie digitale. Anvers en 93, capitale culturelle de l'Europe, offre le cadre idéal pour une telle présentation. Le rôle important que la ville a joué dans l'origine et l'évolution de l'imprimerie est indéniable. Pensons à Christoffel Plantijn, connu dans tout le monde. Et l'imprimerie du musée Plantijn-Moretus est célèbre dans le monde entier et vaut certainement la visite. Anvers est aussi une ville pleine de couleurs. Des peintres comme Rubens, Van Dijk en font preuve dans leurs œuvres. La couleur et l'impression digitale. Xeikon a développé la solution pour les unir d'une façon efficace. Het Elzenveld, au cœur de la ville, unit la richesse du passé avec les exigences modernes. Et Xeikon a donc choisi le lieu par excellence pour cette présentation. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Board of Directors and the management team of Xeikon, I give you a very hearty welcome to the presentation of the first product of the company, the world's first digital color printing press. Antwerp in '93, cultural capital of Europe, can look back on a very rich past in which development and evolution of printing processes played a major role. If we think of professional printers like Christoffel Plantijn, for example. And the world famous prints at the Plantijn-Moretus Museum are, so to speak, the living proof of it, and undoubtedly worth a visit. Antwerp is also the city where painters as Rubens and Van Dijk put their colors on canvas. Digital printing and color. Xeikon has developed the perfect combination. And this beautiful building at Elzenveld, established in the medieval St. Elizabeth's Hospital, located in the very heart of Antwerp, combines riches of the past with modern requirements and thus creates the ideal surroundings for today's presentation. Sehr geehrte Gäste, im Namen des Vorstandes und des Managements von Xeikon begrüße ich Sie ganz herzlich zur Vorstellung des ersten Produktes der Firma, die ersten digitalen Farbdruckmaschine der Welt. Antwerpen, das 1993 Kulturhauptstadt Europas ist, kann auf eine imposante Vergangenheit zurückblicken, in der die Entwicklung und Verfeinerung von Drucktechniken eine führende Rolle gespielt haben. Die weltbekannten Drucker im Plantijn-Moretus Museum sind dafür sozusagen der lebende Beweis und unzweifelhaft eine Besichtigung wert. Antwerpen ist auch die Stadt, in der Rubens und Van Dijk ihre Farben auf Leinwand gebracht haben. Digitales Drucken und Farben. Xeikon hat eine perfekte Kombination entwickelt. Elzenveld, im mittelalterlichen St. Elisabeths Hospital untergebracht und damit in Herzen Antwerpens gelegen, verbindet die Faszination der Vergangenheit mit den Erfordernissen der Gegenwart und bietet deshalb die ideale omgeving voor die heutige voorstelling. Graag wil ik heel kort even het programma van deze namiddag overlopen. Eerst volgt zelfs een verwelkoming door de heer Lucien de Schamphelaere, chairman en president van Xeikon. Followed by a keynote address by Mr. Charles Case, President of Roger Hills Associates. Suivi d'une allocution par M. Lucien Descamps-Fallard et une présentation par M. Alphonse Butz, Senior Vice President Marketing and Sales de Xeikon. At the end of the presentations, a question and answer session will enable you to formulate any question that might come up in the course of the afternoon. A panel of experts from Xeikon will be at your disposal then. Pour conclure cet après-midi, vous pourrez assister à une démonstration du nouveau produit de Xeikon et Xeikon vous invite aussi à lever le verre au succès de la nouvelle presse. Am Ende dieser Vorstellung wird es eine Fragen- und Antwortenrunde geben, sodass Sie die Fragen, die sich im Laufe dieses Nachmittags ergeben haben, an uns richten können. Ein Team von Xeikon-Experten wird Ihnen dazu zur Verfügung stehen. Zum Abschluss des Nachmittags werden wir Sie zu einer Vorführung der Maschine einladen und auf den Erfolg unseres neuen Produktes anstoßen. Ich bin davon überzeugt, dass Sie einen sehr interessanten Nachmittag erleben werden. Dan geef ik nu graag eerst het woord aan de heer Lucien Descamps-Fallard, Chairman en President van Xeikon. Hij wordt dus na een kort welkomstwoord gevolgd door de heer Charles Case, President van Rogers Hill Associates, een consultingbedrijf in Boston. Mr. Case is a recognized authority in the electronic printing field and in 1985 co-founded CAP International Incorporated, now known as BIS Strategic Decisions. Herr Case ist anerkannter Experte im Bereich des Electronic Printing. Er hat das Vorwort über die Auswirkungen des digitalen Logens auf die grafische Industrie. Aber zuerst verleihe ich gerne Herrn Descamps-Fallard das Wort.
Mevrouw, mijn heren, mijn beurt ook nog eens zeer hartelijk welkom in naam van de Raad van Bestuur, van de directie en van het gehele personeel van Xeikon. Wij noemen die groep het Xeikon team. Zeer hartelijk welkom. We zijn zeer gelukkig dat u op onze uitnodiging ingegaan bent. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now my turn also to say that you're very, very welcome here at this first press meeting of Xeikon. I say this in the name of the board of Xeikon, of the management staff and of the complete Xeikon team. Thank you for coming. A special word of welcome, as said already, to our guests from abroad. They represent 10 different countries. Et je souhaite la bienvenue aux représentants de la presse et de l'industrie graphique de la partie francophone de notre pays et de la France. Und unsere zahlreichen deutsche Gäste hier anwesend heute möchte ich auch sehr von Herzen sehr willkommen heißen. A very special welcome also to you, Charles, for being here as a keynote speaker. Thank you also you for being with us today. It's great, ladies and gentlemen, to stand here before this day, very important day, before such a distinguished audience. It's a great day for a young company like Xeikon. The somewhat nervous reaction by the company Indigo in the international press on our invitation for this press conference, as you already have been informed, will of course not, as some papers, at least one morning paper in Belgium here, insinuated, spoil the joy and the pride of Xeikon on this great day. Why not? Well, the articles in the Wall Street Journal and in the Financial Times of yesterday and Monday bring not much news, information about Indigo. Indeed, what they write was announced already and written in the trade press more than a year ago, including the name of the machine. So everybody knew that Indigo was developing a color press. And, as they said already more than a year ago, that it would be available in the market in the near future. We at Xeikon, on the contrary, we did not announce anything about us before today. We kept a very low profile. Now, after 4.5 years of hard work, keeping secret not only the object of our zeal and determination, but even the existence, our existence as a company. Now the day is here that we come out of the dark, come in the light, and announce, not without proud, our first product. I wish you all that your stay with us this afternoon, this evening, will be interesting, effective, and pleasant. Charles, I think it's your turn now.
Thank you, Lucien, for inviting me here today, and I must congratulate Xeikon on choosing such an historical site for such an historical movement. That is the evolution of true electronic printing into the color world. My presentation today is going to embrace a lot of the things that I historically have been working on myself over the last 20 years. Having spent most of my career in developing electrophotography and technologies that have brought electronic printing where it is today, we formed Rogers Hill about 2 years ago to look directly into the technologies and capabilities of this technology and its impact on the graphic arts industry. We have two areas of focus. One is in technology development, such as the type embraced by the Xeikon device, as well as doing in-depth market research and talking to end users who in fact will be the purchasers of the output of these devices in the US, Europe, and Asia. The topic of my presentation today is to address the impact of electronic printing truly on traditional graphic arts applications today and looking out a great deal into the future of the next 10 years or so. But for a moment, I'd like to go back and make some obvious observations that will put all of this into perspective. The office industry and its technology of office automation is really only 20 years old in practice. Yet, the graphic arts industry, in fact, is very old and very well established, delivering very high-quality products. Yet, there is a barrier between these two industries, a very distinct barrier, one in which where all the manufacturers of technology on this side of the barrier understand office applications for printing in the office. Yet, it is amazing that only 30% of business documents around the world are actually printed in the office. The other 70% are produced outside of the office by the graphic arts industry, commercial printers, service bureaus, quick printers, so on and so forth. And it's also very interesting to note that most of the technologies used in this industry today work on only one grade of paper for black printing. The industry calls it plain paper. In many respects, that's a misnomer, because it was Xerox who developed that paper in conjunction with several paper mills many years ago, because when the first Xerox machine was commercialized in the mid-60s, it had a fire extinguisher on board. Because when the paper fed through it, it jammed and caused a fire, because there were no papers available. And they were competing with coated paper devices, such as dye diffusion and direct thermal. It's interesting to note that all the applications found in this industry require a wide variety of substrates and papers for many, many different applications, primarily to enhance the quality of that image that you're creating. Thereby, most of the technology that has been resident over here for the last 20 years has been very limited and handicapped in trying to capture those applications. Well, that is the basis for the opportunity for true electronic printing impacting the graphic arts world. But many of you might ask, why change status quo? Because historically, the user, the customer who buys print, has been told that in order to produce color, it's expensive. And the run lengths must be 10,000 or greater in order to get your per piece price affordable. So that short run color market never really started to bloom or take off for quite some time. Well, with that historical premise, the two issues that we're going to talk about today in electronic printing is the ability not just to print short run color fixed data, which is what the graphic arts industry has been doing for so many years, but to customize it with variable data capability in addition to color. This opportunity wrapped with new technology is enabling electronic printing to actually break down this artificial barrier that is starting already to develop cracks in it between two well-established industries. And in fact, the real opportunity before all of us that has the most exciting growth and opportunity for improved profits for two mature industries straddles across the top of that barrier. And it is electronic short-run color printing. The reason we have not been able to achieve this in the past is primarily due to the gap in technology. Yes, it's very well established. Color copiers, in fact, in Europe have been very successful. Black printing has been very successful and cost-effective at run lengths under 500. And offset printing presses have been very effective at 10,000 nut. The opportunity between that break of 10 to 5 or 5,000 to 500, the technology gap has not allowed that to occur yet until today. And in addition to the technology, the affordability of that output is critical. Cost and performance are the key, because that final customer could care less what the actual imaging technology is. That's really unimportant to them. The issue is delivering productivity at a very affordable, anticipated price and quality of that printing job. And if we take a little excursion back into time in terms of technology, as I mentioned in Europe, which is very interesting because in electronic printing and in office automation, the U.S. has led the world in sales and development of technology. Yet it's interesting to note that when it comes to color, whether it be at the very bottom end of the market with color inkjet, or at the higher end of the office market with that of color copiers, Europe has led the rest of the world significantly in sales and placements of engines. And if we look at color copiers and their impact on the very bottom end of this market, we can see an installed base of 1990 growing significantly through 95. And even more importantly is the growth of paper consumption from the period of 1990 to 1995. It is a demonstration that there is a need and a desire for electronic printing utilizing these technologies. If we also look at black printing applications here in Europe, we can see that there's been considerable growth in the area of forms, direct mail, finishing documents in the period of 1990. Yet, the applications are shifting right now through the next 3 years. Data processing in terms of its total impact is losing its share and giving way to growth in direct mail, which in the U.S. has been a very strong industry for a long time, is now starting to enter as the common market enables that to occur. And finished documents in various other types of technical printing are continuing to grow in that black world. Yet it is amazing that the mean time between failure of most black printers is fairly high compared to 10 years ago. It's interesting to note that that was with a special paper, that of the Xerox plain paper. Yet, Many installations have used coated paper because their customer requires it, sacrificing downtime and reducing downtime considerably, in many cases as much as 70%. So it's stating very clearly that customers do have applications for electronic printing in black. And we see the black applications here in Europe growing considerably over the next several years. And this, ladies and gentlemen, really gives a very strong emphasis on why it is so important that color be introduced into this world of electronic printing. Now, we did a little analysis a few years ago looking at history from 1991 and trying to break run lengths down into three categories. Under 500, certainly the color copier's territory. 500 to 5,000, and 5,000 to 10,000. But when we look at monochrome versus color, the impact the color copier had on that requirement was almost insignificant. As well, in the range of 500 to 5,000, where the demand was the greatest, the impact of color was still not very significant. Therefore, at that point in time, there were a number of obstacles that needed to be overcome technically. Now, several months ago, in the U.S., there was a meeting of media print buyers, that is, users who consume and purchase from commercial printers, quick printers, and service bureaus documents that require short-run color. We did a survey of approximately 60 attendees at this meeting. And it was very interesting to note. We asked them to prioritize these advantages of electronic color printing. Being able to make immediate revisions, very fast and immediate turnaround relative to that of traditional printing. Easy color changes, variable data, on-demand printing, very important if you're producing forms because you don't have to anticipate inventory requirements. And being able to match page costs with that of conventional printing. We expected, quite frankly, price and variable data to be out in front. It's interesting to note that the cost of time is far more important than the actual out-of-pocket cost of the finished product. I think that is, in fact, a real testimony to what electronic color printing can truly bring to the industry in terms of speed, because today's industry, in doing business, we just think of a little anecdotal story of facsimile machines. It was only a few years ago we would wait 3 days for a letter. Now we wait minutes for that same letter over an electronic wire. Businesses are under increasing pressure to operate under much faster time schedules. And this survey is very indicative of that very point. Now, by taking those key characteristics, we then asked a very pointed question by showing print samples, which I don't have time to go into today, where we were very anxious to learn, with those advantages, how much would you increase your current requirements for color printing? Some very interesting data came out of the 60 individuals who were surveyed in terms of color copying, offset to color printing or spot color printing, monochrome, and longer run, meaning 500 to 10,000 impressions. And it's interesting to note of that 43% under 10,000, a great majority of it falls in that window between 5,000 and 500, or 200 or 300, whatever the particular job might be. So we found that quite astonishing and believe that a lot of the significant growth that will come from this new developing industry will be of applications that have yet to be discovered because of the historical barriers that have been taught to all those end users out there who actually are the consumers of this product that it was prohibitive in price. So with the birth of a true electronic printing press, we now can bridge that very important gap that has not been crossed until today. The birth of an electronic printing press that can operate very quickly on the fly, between these runs and, most importantly, offer that economic advantage that allows that final consumer to utilize that product. Now, we have not seen the breakthrough because there were certain market enablers or obstacles that needed to be surmounted in order to achieve this goal. And obviously, very important has been the rate of technology development, not just on the imaging side, but creating that image, which is critical in terms of resolution and speed. Processing of the RIP, the ability to be able to deliver that at an effective rate and to be able to work on a wide range of media found in the graphic arts arena, not in the office. And most importantly, to have an advantage in terms of turnaround time, speed, and/or overall cost to other alternative short-run printing methods. Most importantly, to be compatible with pre-press systems. PostScript Level 2 has certainly established that desktop printing and desktop publishing throughout the world today has become quite a standard. Productivity is probably the key to this whole issue from a consumer's point of view. If they can save time and turn that job around quicker to meet their individual needs, price, as we showed you before, is not so critical. Print quality is really an issue that I believe is grossly misunderstood. That word expectation is the most important, because there have been many incidents in history going back in electronic printing over the last 20 years that have proven that there's a very tight relationship to price, that is the cost of the printing of the document, and the quality. Many people on the graphic arts side believe that the loop is the final measurement of lines per inch or line pair coverage or dots per inch or whatever method of resolution or quality enhancement you want to use. I, for one, believe that the development of electronic printing presses will change the consumer's behavior considerably over the next decade. And we'll see lower prices with lower quality for various applications that are yet to be seen today. And of course, very important is being able to have post-processing applications to meet many of these emerging applications. Everything from driver's license production to passport production to leaflets, many, many different things that will be utilizing these technologies in the future. So with all of those enablers breaking down, and with many companies making substantial investments on all sides of the technology to achieve this, we can see that same graph from 1991 changing from the year 1995 and beyond, where we're going to see a significant increase of under 500 convert from black to color, from 1% to 40%. Significant. We will also see the 500 to 5,000 convert from 17 to 32%. Why? Because of affordability and because of speed. Two very critical issues. Now, with these changes occurring, a good question to ask is, well, what size is the market in fact? Well, we're very conservative. Coming from a laboratory background, I always really was very disappointed in market research firms that put together high hockey stick market forecasts. So I tend to be on the conservative side and would rather be proven wrong than to be over-exaggerating the opportunity at the front side. These are units sold worldwide, and we believe in '94 we'll see over 100 installed. When I say installed, I don't mean being tested or evaluated or trying to try out applications. When I say installed, I mean running at the anticipated application that that purchaser actually acquired the equipment for. That's a key point. And we can see, as the success of these units in '94 proved the base premise of operation and cost performance, that that growth will be very consistent in the years to come. Now, this technology, which the black industry has proven as it relates to electronic printing, is very intensive from the supplies point of view. So when you put the supplies revenue and the hardware revenue together, there is a very significant compounding effect over time as the electronic printing presses start to take market share over the next decade. Needless to say, a substantial industry indeed in its infancy. Now we need to take a look at the existing industry in terms of how are all of these applications delivered to that final consumer or end user. And the applications don't necessarily relate to these environments. But what is interesting and what has taken place already with electronic pre-press capability, we now have service bureaus that aren't just doing pre-press, they're actually doing printing of some of these applications. We have commercial printers who are now not using service bureaus to do pre-press because they're doing it in-house as well as printing the document. And when you look at quick printers, implant print shops, and satellite print shops, the same changes are occurring. And isn't it interesting to note, in such an historical moment as this, history has taught us a lot in the past. When new technology comes about, it generally means change to very established industries. And that change is already underway. And as the technology continually improves in terms of quality, cost, performance, and speed, many of these applications will be converting over the next decade to electronic printing. Now let's review a few of those applications. One that is really not understood very well and can be fully encompassed by the title book publishing. I don't really mean that novel that you buy in a hardback at your local favorite bookstore. I'm really referring to manuals and short-run books that universities and colleges throughout the world really require and are forced to use black printing methods to now deliver that. And it's short runs of anywhere from 100 to 500 to 1,000 editions. Many small clubs, which I'm involved with an old antique car club, we like to put out a publication every year using color pictorials of different models. The cost is prohibitive. With today's technology, an electronic printing press could truly enable that to come true. And there are many, many other applications that we haven't even dreamt of today. If we look at the aviation industry and the growth and requirement for publishing of short-run maintenance manuals that change every time one component in an aircraft system changes. There are many applications of this type, not just in textbooks or professional books, but many applications that I could talk about for the next week or so as we've gone out into the marketplace and tried to listen to that final consumer, the final user of the product that's being printed. And the trends are, without question, in this industry, that is, a new emerging industry and some traditional industry, very fast turnaround, requirements for very short runs with color, and an interest in variable data, whether that be text, graphics, black, and or process color. And very specialized segmentation will follow this market. It's not going to be a blatant market that large publishing companies like McGraw-Hill are going after. Yet, in fact, electronic publishing, when the pre-press bit streaming of data can improve in speed, we'll see it take on very new dimensions in the very near future. Well, another way to look at that application is how is it going to change the environment which actually provides the printed copy or output to that particular user. And if we were to look and compare 1992 to 1995, we can see that for the application of book publishing, implant is going to decline because right now implant is doing it in black. But as the electronic press comes into it, we can see implant, such as universities and colleges, grow. Service bureaus also are growing as they are creating the front end and now doing the output. So the market is going to reshape itself at the expense of commercial printers. As a direct result, we're going to see current run lengths that were actually happening in 92 decline due to these reasons. We're going to see color, which could never be done before, actually be achieved, using various types of paper that never could have been done on electronic printing, that of traditional hot roll fusing. We're going to see a number of different titles, customization, personalization, costs will decline, and on-demand printing will eventually become a true reality. going to be certainly exceptions to this rule. There are very large, well-established commercial printers that see this coming and have very good strategies to change that, the way business has been done. However, in any change in an industry, there are always those that are not willing to accept change. They tend to fade away. Packaging is another application, and I don't mean packaging of everyday products. I mean packaging of unique products where the particular manufacturer of that product wants to incorporate a promotional program. Now, we also know that there are several trends affecting this industry today. One, more companies and government are requiring more information to be placed on packaging. Therefore, the packaging becomes a very effective marketing tool. Another fact, due to environmental issues, we are going to see a change from plastic packaging to paper packaging. Well, now picture, if you will, if you're a potato crisp manufacturer in the UK and you want to launch a promotion tying in a special discount on a certain type of potato crisp in Scotland, but you don't want to do it throughout the whole country of the UK, electronic printing presses could afford this capability. To not only give the variable data to tie in with that particular promotional application, but to be able to print on demand within that region. And there is considerable interest in trying to achieve this type of packaging. Just to name a few of the vertical sectors on the manufacturing side. Many, many, many applications to be discovered as electronic printing presses truly prove the base premise that the quality, speed of delivery, and cost can be achieved. And again, labels today are being printed for these applications by black devices in these areas. We see this changing over time. And when I say time, I don't mean actually in 95, I really mean from 95 and beyond. That we're going to see more implant activity embracing this technology. Quick printers more or less staying the same, but commercial printers adapting to this technology because of fear of loss of the way they're doing it today. Another exciting application, which is very strong in the US and is starting to make some inroads here in Europe, is that of merchandising coupons. It started originally in the grocery industry, where companies would induce the consumer to want to purchase a product by giving them a discount through a coupon that generally is delivered through the newspapers, either clipped out or mailed to your home. The problem has been in that industry, there are too many coupons. There's no personalization, and there's a tremendous amount of fraud because of mass duplication. As a result, that industry has grown, but has a number of problems. And what they're looking for is shorter, more focused runs where they can zero in on a profile, a very specific profile of a consumer that would need that particular product that they're trying to sell to. Because the cost of distributing the coupons is very high. The effectiveness in return of that coupon is very low in relation to that cost. So they're all looking for ways to cut their costs and improve their effectiveness or productivity. When we talk about catalogs, it's a substantially large industry within the U.S. And it's interesting to see as the common market takes shape, more catalogs are coming into Western Europe, whether it be from the consumer side or the business side. Many of the problems these companies face are similar to the coupon providers. There are too many catalogs for various product categories, such as outdoor clothing. L.O. Bean started that over 100 years ago, but there are probably 50 competitors to L.O. Bean today. And what each one of these companies is looking to improve their market share is to be able to personalize that catalog. And again, be able to direct it to a zip code and a profile of a customer who would be able to afford and or require those types of products. This could only be done through electronic printing because of the nature of short run color requirements that would be very difficult to do with fixed data. Well, as these technologies shift, as the introduction of the electronic printing press truly takes place, again, we're going to see trends that are going to change run lengths in order to do smaller target marketing, more focus of specialty products with more revisions. We're also going to see a lot of these electronic printing presses find their way into the printers and publishers of catalogs, bringing implant print shop to this application where it has not been before. That is significant. Direct mail is an application that in the U.S. has been very strong for a long time, as I mentioned earlier. We're now starting to see it impact Western Europe. And with the language requirements over here varying from country to country, not to mention cultural differences, there are many applications for this type of technology, being electronic printing presses that can handle variable data in addition to color. More cost effective with more alternatives. And when it's all said and done, what makes a product successful is when that final consumer is willing to purchase it to improve their particular business in terms of performance and by lowering their particular costs. If we look at the change in providers in this application, it's equally changing in terms of the quick printer, and the implant print shop is losing ground to the growth of commercial printers and forms printers because they fear loss of that business today, or the lost incremental growth in the forms industry has been picked up by many forms companies in the direct mail printing business in the U.S., and that's starting to occur here in Europe. The forms industry has really had no growth for the last 3 or 4 years, as black printing has impacted significantly. With the graphic arts printing and adding value, color letterheads, such as invoicing and billing at very high speeds, you're able to mix color and black. And with an offset finishing device, color and black has been able to be married rather ineffectively, but meeting that demand. That will change as well as color is introduced. Not to mention the casual application of many types of products that you might want to produce, such as technical documentation, various types of proposals, or sales sheets, or data sheets, or customized proposals that require sales and data sheets or very limited brochures. As print quality in these applications and color improve and wider ranges of paper are utilized to meet various legislation and rules throughout the world, true electronic printing presses that can work on a multitude of media and be cost effective is again going to increase applications in the office and in the implant print shop, far more than what we've seen today. So in conclusion, I think it's very safe to say that there is a latent demand out there, but it will never be tapped unless the productivity is there and that the technology truly can perform within those anticipated demands. My company, IT Strategies, and Roger Sill have produced an analysis on the Xeikon electronic printing press. And during the reception, anyone who gives me a business card, I'd be happy to mail copies of my presentation or of the analysis and newsletter we've done on the product. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Case. De heer Lucien de Schamphelaar schetst nu de geschiedenis en het doel van Xeikon. Monsieur Lucien de Schamphelaar, chairman et président de Xeikon, vous présentera dans son allocution l'histoire et les buts de la société. Herr Lucien de Schamphelaar stellt Ihnen jetzt die Geschichte und Zielsetzung des Unternehmens vor. Meneer de Schamphelaar.
De eerste. Nee. Ladies and gentlemen, the spark that lights up at the intersection of an awareness of present or future customer needs on the one hand, and a clear view on what new technologies could offer to fulfill the customer's needs on the other hand, has very often been the first stimulus for successful industrial innovation. And it was in the case of Xeikon. In Xeikon's case, the customer's needs that we were aware of was situated, of course, in the graphic cards industry. It had to do with the product gap that Charles' case was referring to already. Can I have the next slide, please? Since many years, in the graphic arts industry, there were available extremely versatile tools for the creation in digital form of documents in full color. But the only tool available to convert the digits into printed pages is still the offset press. Now we all know that offset can offer excellent printing quality, and this at a very acceptable price per printed page, provided the run length is long enough, is large enough. However, the fixed cost coupled to the production of the printing plates makes offset too expensive for runs below a few thousand copies. Recently, electronic printers and copiers became available based on such technologies as inkjet, thermal transfer, electrophotography, and some of them can and are used in the graphic arts industry for proofing purposes, but their printing speed and their cost per printed page do not permit their use for any volume printing. So, referring to run lengths, as is the case made already clear, there was, I must say, a product gap between somewhere 50 and 5,000. A product gap between what can be done with low speed copiers and what can be done with offset machines, offset presses. When this product gap now, the awareness of this product gap was confronted with recent advantages, and here I am referring to one of the number one obstacle that Mr. Case was referring to, technology. Well, when this awareness of this product gap was confronted with recent advantages in material science, electrophotography, microelectronics, optoelectronics, computer science, then out of this confrontation, there was the spark, that generated the spark that led to product innovations for Xeikon. This spark was ignited at that moment. And this happened within a while. I was, and Etienne de Kock, who was with me, because Etienne de Kock and I, we are the only two who have roots at Agfa. All the other people from Xeikon come from other places. It was at that, when this happened, when we were at Agfa, and this spark was bright enough to illuminate the minds of some Agfa board members and to let them decide to set up the venture project Xeikon. There were several good reasons for which Agfa also agreed to create Xeikon as an outside venture in which they would have a minority participation through their venture capital company, the GIF, Agfa Gewart Investment Fund. And maybe the most important reason, I should say certainly the most important reason, was the belief that the strong focus on one single goal and the resolution and dedication of all involved that were needed to be successful with a venture like Xeikon could only be realized in a small entrepreneurial unit. Can I have the next slide, please? 6 other investors were prepared to join AGIF when on August 10th, 1988, Xeikon was founded. You see these companies, 4 European companies and 3 US. Should have been 5. I should have referred to Agfa as has been an error there. ACFA is of course a European company. So there were 5 European investors and 2 US companies. I'm sorry. Maybe ACFA would be sorry. At the beginning of this year, an 8. Could I have the next slide, please? Now it's correct. An 8 shareholder joined the group of the original founders, R.R. Donnelly International. R.R. Donnelly International is a Chicago-based printing company, and they are the largest independent printing company in the world. In this group of shareholders, AGIF, with somewhat 25% of the shares, is the largest shareholder. However, from this may not be concluded, as one of our national newspapers did this morning, that we are ACFA, we are not. Xeikon is an independent venture. It has its roots at ACFA, and we have a very good relationship with ACFA. ACFA is not only our most important shareholder with 25%, but they are also a potential, very important potential customer, and for a product, and they are the supplier, supposed to be the supplier. No exclusivity agreement with them on that point, but they are supposed to be the supplier for the inks for our machine, for the toners. Could I have the next slide, please? I also have to, before I go on that, also to tell you that from the start, the Xeikon venture had the sympathy, and the serious sympathy is good, but it also had a very serious financial support in the form of an interest-free loan from the Flemish government via the organizations IWT and the ITO. We are very grateful, of course, for that. The Xeikon shareholders agreed that the mission of the newly founded company should be described as given here. So, to be active, to provide professional printing, and be active in development, manufacturing, marketing of digital non-impact printing systems, and we would focus on heavy-duty applications where color is important, and for aiming at typical applications for running up to 5,000 impressions. Next slide, please. We also agreed, it was proposed from the beginning, that we should evolve with Xeikon through the following phases. First, to prove the feasibility of the technical concept that we had, then develop prototypes and start marketing activity, and the last phase, the organization of manufacturing and sales, and very important, of customer support. Phase 1 started in January 1989, and during the first 4.5 years of, as I said already, we kept a very low profile. We did not wish to trigger curiosity. We carefully kept hidden all information regarding the innovations and breakthroughs in, I can say, a wide range of technologies on which the unique features of our product are based. Next slide, please. In 1991, BIS CAP, the consulting company of which Charlie Case was co-founder, described the print shop's manager's dream machine. He described it as follows: speed, quality, refer to the copier, format, variety of paper grades, price, and that order. Till today, a machine that fills such specs remained a dream. Even something near to it was not available on the market. The DCP-1 printing press. Could I have the next slide? No. That the young entrepreneurial company Xeikon, here now today, proudly announces today, and that at the end of this conference will be demonstrated, will change this it can indeed now make the dream of many print shop managers come true. Mr. Alphonse Butswil, our Vice President Manager of our company, will introduce the most important functional characteristics of the machine, and he will highlight the most important specifications and applications possibilities. Let me tell you something about the technology used inside the digital color press #1. It's a machine of the single pass multi-station type. Paper is fed in from a reel, and inside the machine it evolves in the form of a web, a continuous web. At the end of the machine it's cut into sheets. There are 8 printing stations, one for each of the basic colors, basic inks, yellow, magenta, cyan and black, which are positioned so that they can print on each side of the paper. The printing stations are based on electrophotography. They use dry 2-component toner, which, as I said already, was developed by Aqua. The people that developed this, heads of this developments, Mr. Arat and Mr. Tavernier, are here with us. We are very, at Xeikon, we are very grateful to them. We believe that they developed the best dry color toner which is available in the world at this moment. I think I can say this. We use also organic photoconductive drums, that were printing drums or electro-photoconductive drums based on organic photoconductors. Could I have the next slide? You see here this drum as a central part of a print station. It's an aluminum drum with the coating in organic photoconductive material. The drum is charged first, then writing is the electrophotographic image, the latent image is written on the drum. I come back to this. After development with toner, charged toner by means of a magnet brush, the image is transferred to paper, and this happens for the 4 successive colors on one side. Next slide, please. This is a photo of a printing drum. Next slide, please. You would, in the DCP-1, look in vain for laser beams. Instead of lasers, we use LED arrays, light-emitting diode arrays, to write the latent image on the photoconductive drums. Each of these arrays has 7,422 small LED windows. Next slide, please. You can't see them here because there are 7,000 on this length of which is about 30 centimeters long. Next slide, please. These LED windows are positioned with extreme accuracy on a line pattern. Each of these windows measures 40 by 40 micrometer. This results in a writing addressability of 600 spots per inch, and the light energy of each window can be controlled at very high speed and set to any of 64 different energy levels. Fixing of the toner, which is not shown in this image, is fully duplex compatible because the fixing system does not touch the paper during fixing. Let's come back to the company now for a moment. We have been growing very fast in number of employees at least. When we started in '89, we were 5. Now we are 55, our staff, personal staff is 55 people. But at some 30 subcontractors within a radius of something like 100 kilometers around Xeikon, at least another 100 people are working on the project, many of them full-time. Slide, please. Let me say a few words about some typical strengths of this young and, in fact, small or medium-sized company. First, I think very important, something which is possible only in a small company. we are focused on one single, very well-defined opportunity area. This is a very important element of strength, I believe, compared to problems that other companies might be confronted with if they would like to do something like what we are doing. We have, our product initiative is really innovative. We developed it from scratch. We did not rely on anything existing. We developed it from scratch to meet the requirements of the famous product gap. And our technology is covered by several patents covering a broad spectrum of technologies that I mentioned before. Next slide, please. Some other typical advantages of the small company climate that we can live in: flexibility, stronger employee empowerment than is possible again than would be possible. It would not be possible to do that, to get the same employee, realize the same employee empowerment in a large organization. This results then in strong commitment and motivation of the people, and in a small group also means efficient decision making. Next slide, please. Being small is an advantage, but being small and at the same time have powerful and motivated shareholders behind you is also a very nice thing. And some of them then on top of that being potential, important potential customers. A last element of strength, and also very important, is, as I said, not only the sympathy, but the rather strong financial support in the form of interest-free loans. A loan that we have to pay back when we are successful. And we told to these people of the French government, you can trust us, we will be successful, so we will pay back. But we are very grateful for that interest-free loan. Before I give the floor to Mr. Butts, I have a last and pleasant task. Next slide, please. To pay high tribute to the people who made the dream come true, the Xeikon team. Without their professional skills, their dedication, their strong determination to be successful, there would have been no DCP-1 today. One of the motivators that is driving them is that ambition to prove that successful entrepreneurial activity in high-tech is not only possible in California and Tokyo, but also in Europe and in Antwerp. I'm very grateful to them, to this Xeikon team, and it was and still is a great pleasure and honor to be able to work with them. Thank you.
Dank u wel, meneer de Schandvladen. De laatste spreker voor deze namiddag is de heer Alfons Butts, Senior Vice President Marketing en Sales van de Xeikon. En hij spreekt over de eigenschappen en de marktpositionering van de Xeikon DCP-1. At present, I would like to ask your attention for Mr. Alfons Butts, Senior Vice President Marketing and Sales, and he will present the features and marketing positioning of the Xeikon DCP-1. Alfons Butts, Senior Vice President Marketing and Sales, setzt die Produktmerkmale und Marktpositionierung der Xeikon DCP-1 auseinander. Herr Butts.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're excited not only regarding the product, but especially because of the excellent response we got to our invitation. De presentatie zal in het Engels zijn, maar we gaan ervan uit dat de vaktermen voor u bekend zijn, zodat u die gemakkelijk kunt volgen. Weil die meisten Fachausdrücke schon in Englisch sind, hoffen wir, dass die Präsentation für Ihnen klar sein wird. Puisque la plupart des termes du métier sont dérivés de l'anglais, nous espérons que la présentation sera aussi claire pour nos amis francophones. Eerste slide. Okay. We still consider our product to be the first digital color printing press that is announced and demonstrated to the marketplace. The volgende. I'm not going to elaborate long about about the market, I think Charlie Case made an excellent presentation. I just would like to point out that in the area of low run lengths, there is virtually no color produced at this moment, and that even with a strong per annum growth rate, there is still a strong opportunity beyond 1995. And we believe that the opportunities are not only from printing items that are already printed at a cheaper cost, but especially from the growth of color printing. So we believe this is a huge growth opportunity for the graphic arts marketplace. Following alsjeblieft. Talking about the segmentation of the market, we believe that digital color presses are significant to every member of the graphic arts community. If you look at the commercial printers, they know what color printing is about. They have good relationship with their clients. If you look at service bureaus and trade shops, they know what digital data are all about. And if you look at in plant print shops, they have a lot of claims. So we believe that basically a lot of people could get benefits from this, and we believe that this will cause a revolution within the graphic arts marketplace. Following it. Okay. The Xeikon DCP-1, the product that we are going to show you today, is not the only version of the product that will be on the market eventually. So we have two highly different channels to the market. On the one hand, we will supply print engines to OEM clients, and they will provide a complete solution, for instance including RIBs, color management, connectivity and server capabilities under their private label and supported by their own sales and distribution channels. That is one channel. The second channel is what we call value-added distributors. They will supply a solution that we as Xeikon have completed ourselves, and that you will see today. It's called the Xeikon Digital Color Printing Press DCP-1. And they will take care of systems integrations, support and sales within a given territory. Xeikon will assist both channels through development of new options, new products, manufacturing these products, and supporting them, following them. Let me elaborate very briefly about what we call value-added distributors. And please don't call them value-added resellers, because the word VAR for me has a bad connotation, because many VARs don't add any value whatsoever. What we want is, and what we have tested in 3 countries, is a value-added distributor profile. Basically what it boils down to is that they will be responsible for a given territory, and they will make the necessary commitment and investment to support and service the product, and they will be the sole supplier of the DCP-1 format in that given territory. So they have the necessary marketplace to finance their investments. So what we want to do is not have a short-term approach to selling the product, but a long-term approach oriented at customer satisfaction. Following them. There is one slide missing here. So there are 4 basic requirements that we have come up with that are key to success in this business. On the first hand, that's print quality. Second, it's acceptable cost level per page. Third, it's productivity and reliability. And I absolutely concur with what Charles has said. This is vital for digital color presses to succeed. And fourth, it's flexibility, intrinsic flexibility, providing variable data support. Now, in order to satisfy these requirements, you need a new solution, a new concept. And Lucian talked about the Xeikon DCP-1 as this is the concept of the Xeikon DCP-1. What you have is desktop publishing, you have scanning of images, you have layout, and what you want to do is go directly with your PostScript file that is ripped to a bitmap. It's spooled, thus providing the asynchronous ripping and printing process. You have an image buffer. These are not plates, this is a digital image buffer, and then you have your printing of a new image every cycle. That's basically the concept of the Xeikon DCP-1, the product that we're showing you. Following me. This was the slide that I wanted. Basically, the concept of the DCP-1 is geared towards resolving the requirements that we described earlier. Okay, let's now move to the key product specification of the DCP-1 as it is being presented today. It's a digital 4-color printing press, CMYK. The toners that we use are oriented at Euroscala. What is very important is that we can print A3 size bleeding or B size bleeding for the US. It's duplex recto verso printing in one pass. And the speed is, think about 4,200 prints A4 per hour. As Lucian mentioned, 600 dpi width for every 600 dpi spot, 64 gray levels. That's an enormous quantity of data, similar to good quality offset. And the system is PostScript level 2 compatible. We'll briefly elaborate on some of the key further following them. Regarding the paper input, we have made a deliberate choice for web input. We have found out that choice has been acknowledged by many leading commercial printing companies that we have talked to. The width of the paper is up to 320 millimeters. We support coated and uncoated papers, and the weight ranges between 80 and 200 grams. At the end of the process, following the printing, there is programmable sheeting, and I would like to point out that that implies that you not only can support A3 or A4 or A or P size, but any custom format or any special format that is defined in the signature to be printed. And then at the end, the cut sheets are gathered in a stacker, following them. The basic print engine, I'm going to be very brief. We opted for a configuration that is geared towards minimum floor space and optimal access. Okay. De volgende alsjeblieft. Okay. Regarding the connectivity, the input of the data and the ripping. There is an Ethernet interface. The system is PostScript level 2 compatible. It is a software RIP running on a 486 processor at 66 megahertz. We have procured it from Harlequin, the UK known OEM supplier of PostScript interpreters. It's based on their ScriptWorks PostScript interpreter. We recommend that a server is used to spool the incoming jobs, but if an OBI facility is available, that's an added advantage. The next item is very important. As Charles pointed out, productivity is key to the success. So you don't want a digital color press to be waiting for the next job while it is ripping. So we have developed a concept where the rip output is buffered, and while the present job is being printed, the next jobs are being ripped and spooled, so that there is no waiting time for the rips. So that's an intrinsic element of the system. The last item is that we use a proprietary screening technology that for purposes of speed is implemented in hardware, and that takes into account the characteristics of the product and is aiming at optimizing print quality throughout the print runs. The volume, alsjeblieft. Okay. Related to the incoming of the jobs, the printing takes then place from the image buffer, and we have at this moment 54 megabytes of image buffer for each of the print units. Then the data are fed through a dedicated ASIC module to the LED imaging heads that Lucian showed. Another important item is that the processes in the engine are controlled to microcontrollers, and that means that the system allows for very detailed diagnostics because everything is measured and controlled. Finally, the operator interface is Windows. Okay, following alsjeblieft. Okay. Applications, I'm going to be very brief on those because Charles has indicated many fields of applications. and these are some of the applications that we consider as highly interesting from our perspective, and they're basically derived from feedback that we have obtained from our contacts with the marketplace. Just one item. If you talk about short-run color printing, it's not only important to think about the new range of output devices, but just a brief mentioning about the input side. For many applications, it may be interesting not only to consider CCD scanners or drum scanners, but also there are new sources of image data, and for some applications, they may be satisfactory from the image quality point of view, if you don't need a large size image and so on. And some of these technologies very well complement the digital color press, because they allow you to react not in a matter of days, including the images, but in a matter of hours going to final print. Following alsjeblieft. What are the key advantages of the Xeikon DCP-1? First, and not the least, is it fits directly into existing DTP environments. It can be really plugged into those environments directly. An environment that supports some image setters, some laser printers, some digital color copier can be used as a platform to use the system. It gives you an extremely short production time. Think about going to 1000 A4 duplex prints within 30 minutes from the availability of the PostScript file. Next, and also extremely important, is, excuseer, de vorige. I should not use the adjectives next in my discussion. It's a single-step output process. It's one that is very easy to plan and to manage, because you only have to take into account one device up till the printed piece. That is easy to plan and to manage. Next advantage, an obvious one, is the fact that you don't have films, plates, make ready, implies that you hardly have any fixed costs per job. The next advantage is flexibility. Smooth changes from one job to the other. Last minute change can be supported, and also the intrinsic variability of the data that you print, because the DCP-1 prints every page. Even if we print the same page, we write it new every time. For a last item is of course the environmental issues. The product is totally geared towards environmentally friendly solutions. Okay. This is an opportunity for the graphic arts market. It is absolutely not a threat. It will enable the graphic arts professionals to offer new services in the color printing field. On-demand printing. Printing when you need it in the quantities that you need it. Just-in-time printing. Waiting until the last moment and waiting for the last changes. Distributed printing. Printing the same document at 4 or 5 places in the world, but we can also think in Europe, printing at 4 or 5 places in different languages. Customization in one process. I would like to elaborate for 30 seconds on that. Since we print every page new, we will support, as from the last quarter of this year, what we call a variable data system. That will enable us to change a percentage or a proportion of every page to be printed from print to print. That will be something very new in color printing, because it will happen in one process. And over time we will go to the next item, which is electronic collation. That is printing pages of a book, manual or prospectus, sequentially. That means if you have 200 copies of a book of 100 pages, you first print the first entire book, page 1, 2, 200, and then the next copy. So what that means is a strong reduction of the post-printing costs. However, it implies a very big requirement for the ribbing process, and it's a real challenge to the people involved in rib technology. But we are convinced that in the next few years there will be breakthroughs in this area, and those breakthroughs will enable electronic collation in full color to be practical. In the meantime, there will be stages in between, like in color changing a proportion of a part of every page, or doing some part in black and white. Following alsjeblieft. The cost dynamics of our process are totally different from offset or any master-based system. In offset you have substantial fixed costs, and then for every additional print that you make, an increasing cost picture. With our process, and we've been very flexible and taken some level of fixed costs, but basically they are quite neglectable. And what you have is an enormous opportunity here. And I don't call this cost savings. Of course, for jobs that are printed now, these represent cost savings. However, for the graphic arts community, they are an area of opportunity, because they are the source of new color jobs. Either jobs that are now printed black and white, or jobs that are not printed in any technology. Following. A brief word about competition. First, indirect competition. Master-based technologies, being regular offset or computer-to-plate or on-press plate making, do not represent a true solution to short-run color printing, because they lack the intrinsic flexibility. Even with computer-to-plate or on-press plate making, at the moment you have made your plate, it's a fixed plate and you cannot change. You cannot think about customizing a part or anything. In indirect, in digital technology, you have some solutions that are good for color proofing or that are good for black and white demand printing. Either they are insufficient in speed or throughput, if for instance color copiers or proofing devices, or black and white printers like the Xerox Docutech or the Kodak Lionheart do not have the process color or quality capabilities. The following then. In the direct area, I cannot give you any products that are on the market. It is clear that there are some companies that are trying to catch up, but we believe that the market can bear more than one professional system, because we together we will develop the market with the members of the graphic arts community. From some companies one doesn't know what their strategy is, and from some companies it is known that they're still working on the drawing board. Next. Just very briefly, this is a graphical representation of taking into account print quality and run length of where we represent our technology. The third dimension is not represented here. It is as important as these two dimensions. It is of course cost per page. And if you look at short-run color printing, many of these applications, for instance, don't come anywhere near to what is needed in terms of cost per page. Following that, okay. Just one brief word about the market segmentation. It is our belief that there will be an evolution towards digital print centers. And those will be centers where only digital production will take place. And I didn't put them with the commercial side or with the company side or the in-house side, because I believe there will be in both places. But I believe there will be digital production centers where either in black and white or in color, directly from digital data, documents will be produced. Following us, please. Some elements about the product briefly. The Xeikon DCP-1 in its standard configuration will be priced at about 7.2 million Belgian francs, or about $220,000 or 350,000 Deutschmarks. I'm sorry that it was not possible to put all the currencies represented here on one slide. There are some options, that is extra buffering capacity to have extra spooling of already ripped jobs, and the variable data system, which is also an option. Very briefly about our time schedule. In the next months we will continue our extensive beta testing program. In the fourth quarter there will be some initial production series, and as from then we will try to aggressively scale up our production capacities. And referring to the numbers that Charles Case mentioned, is that if those will be correct, we do not intend to leave anything for others. Volgende alsjeblieft. It is, as Charles pointed out, one can analyze the marketplace and applications, but it's very difficult to project which ones will come through first. What we have seen is that we have received a very strong response and a pull effect from different segments. However, only practice will tell, and the dynamics of the market will prevail regarding which applications will come first, which printing environment will be most successful. Secondly, it is clear that over time the market will evolve, will be more segmented, and that from us, suppliers of digital color presses, we will be required to offer different products, and they can be differentiated between the vendors through quality, throughput, costs and options. So there will be a strong evolution in this market and in the supply. Volgende alsjeblieft. However, what I would like to emphasize is it is not a threat to the graphic arts industry, it is a real opportunity. It can help growth of printing in full color. Secondly, it will allow the graphic arts community to offer new services and to offer better customer service, and through doing that obtain additional revenues. And thirdly, everyone talks about multimedia and so on, but I believe that through a better product being served at a better price, the graphic arts community will continue to grow and will not lose to any other media. And I think it will be this type of pattern. Maybe there will be some cycles, some economic cycles, but there will be a growth pattern. The following. Okay. There is a difference in the response in the market, and I want to allude to one company that definitely doesn't want to wait and sit back, but that wants to play a leading role in the field of digital printing. That is R.R. Donnelley, and as you will see in the press map, they announced a strategic alliance with Xeikon in the use of digital color printing. And we are very happy to announce that because, as Lucian pointed out, with its revenues of $4.2 billion and its worldwide presence, R.R. Donnelley is the largest individual printing company in the world. The following. Just very briefly, in the press map that you have received, you will find a preprint of a Seabolt article, some sample pages, a data sheet on the DCP-1, an application sheet, some texts about the history as background information, and the announcement of R.R. Donnelley, and a picture for the press members. Thank you.
Zoals aangekondigd volgt dus nu de vraag- en antwoordsessie. En om het een beetje vlot te laten verlopen, verzoekt het Xeikon-team elke vraagsteller zich eventjes duidelijk voor te stellen. En dan ook geen al te diepgaand technologische vragen te stellen. Het Xeikon-team behoudt zich ook het recht voor van bepaalde vragen niet of slechts gedeeltelijk te beantwoorden. The Xeikon panel will now answer your questions that can be put forward in 4 different languages, if you wish. They reserve the right not to answer certain questions or to answer them only partially. And also they ask you to present yourselves clearly if you want to put forward a question. Vos questions peuvent à présent être posées au Xeikon team en 4 langues, si vous voulez. Le panel vous prie de vous présenter clairement et d'éviter les questions qui sont trop techniques. Xeikon se réserve aussi le droit de ne pas répondre à certaines questions. Fachleute werden ihre Fragen, die sich in 4 Sprachen richten können, gerne beantworten, behalten nur teilweise zu beantworten. Wenn Sie eine Frage haben, stellen Sie sich bitte kurz vor und vermeiden Sie bitte Fragen, die zu technisch sind. The panel consists of Mr. Lucien de Scamphelaere, Mr. Alfons Butz, all Xeikon people, Mr. Etienne de Kock, Vice President Technology, and as already said, with Mr. de Scamphelaere, the only two people at Xeikon who have their roots in Antwerp, Mr. Alfons Grobben, in charge of development and production of writing heads, and then finally Mr. Koen van Hulle, in charge of digital technology. So, if there are any questions, please shoot, as they say.
Should be at least one question.
How stable do you expect the colour panels to be over time? Because with the Canon products, it does vary quite a lot, doesn't it? And it's very important to have a printing press like this, the stability of colour.
Thank you for that question. It's very important because it's key to quality. Will a professional printer be able to print or not with this machine? We have inside the machine a lot of instrumentation, a lot of measurements, hundreds of variables are measured continuously and fed into a microcomputer system consisting of 8 or 10 at this moment small microcomputers distributed in the machine, sensing different things in the machine and feeding back and controlling various other parameters. Exactly the aim to keep all those parameters that have an influence on the individual densities of the 4 colors very constant, not only at one point of the density curve, but over the whole density curve from 0 to 100%. If that is done, and the inks, the toners have stable spectral characteristics, then we can trust that also the mixing of colors will end up in very stable colors. And Aqua guarantees with that toners to have stable spectral characteristics.
Quel pourcentage de la surface pourrez-vous changer régulièrement avec l'option?
En couleur, en quadri, ça sera possible d'avoir un change de quelques 20% de la surface totale imprimée. Si ce n'est pas en quadri, mais en noir et blanc, le pourcentage sera plus élevé. Et si c'est possible d'envoyer les données digitales à la vitesse nécessaire, ça sera possible de faire en noir et blanc toutes les pages changées l'une après l'autre.
Michael Hase, Forum Munich. I wonder, you elaborated on the screening method you have developed for the printing machine. Could you explain how this kind of screening methods work? And second, whether there are already color profiles for color management systems for the machine?
At this moment, we prefer not to elaborate on the exact screening method deployed in the system. About the second question, we have a very clear answer. We are in the process of preparing the profiles, because I should use the word profiles, because I think that's the term that does not refer to any single individual color management system, but it is our goal to have as soon as possible profiles for the key color management systems, and of course the one of our friends at AGFA will be the first priority on our list. And as you understand, I refer to one of my slides, that's the one with the different sources of the image data. It is obvious if you want to be flexible and have all of those sources of image data, you need a good color management to get consistent output. So this is key to our success in the marketplace. So we will spend a lot of attention to finish that effort in the next few weeks.
Yves Stern-Arbos, avez-vous un nombre de copies noires recommandées pour cette machine? Une quantité recommandée de copies par mois ou de pages imprimées par mois?
La machine est orientée vers des applications industrielles professionnelles. Le nombre de copies, ce n'est pas recommandé, mais typique avec lequel on a fait pas mal de calculations, c'est de 150 000 pages imprimées par mois. Ça peut impliquer jusqu'à 300 000 impressions par mois, parce que si ce sont tous des impressions recto verso, c'est 300 000 pages. C'est un chiffre avec lequel on a fait pas mal de calculations, mais ce n'est pas nécessaire. On croit que même avec un taux d'utilisation moins élevé, ça sera un investissement très intéressant. D'autre part, le système est orienté vers une utilisation qui implique d'imprimer plus que 150 000 et jusqu'à 200 ou 300 000 pages par mois.
Our marketing and sales manager is, as he should, very good in languages, but there was a question from the audience to give a short translation in English, also of the question and of the answer.
Okay. The question was, at what typical usage is the product oriented? And the answer is twofold. We have done a lot of calculations with a typical monthly usage rate of 150,000 sheets. That means that 150,000 sheets can mean up to 300,000 A4 impressions. So that is a usage rate that we have done extensive calculations with. At the lower side, we have found out that at a rate of utilization that is only half of that, the break-even of the product is still very interesting. On the other hand, the product, it's really an industrial production device, which means that one could go beyond the 150,000 sheets per month. So, but the figure we used is 150,000 A4 sheets.
Is it possible to make a direct print from my Macintosh to the engine, or do I have to make a conversion or a PostScript down to MS-DOS Windows?
As we recognize the trends in the desktop publishing industry, one of the major being PostScript, which has during the last year evolved towards to take a large part of the graphic art applications, with restless applications. We have provided the PostScript grep, which is actually running on the Windows interface to enable the functionality of the RIP over a network which is Ethernet and which can handle all relevant protocols like Ethertalk, and it can, as such, accept data coming from Macintosh directly.
Dr. Robin Howard, representing RIT. I understand that you're buffering your data prior to putting it on the drum. How long would it take? How many jobs or how many pages do you buffer? And let's say you were to do a book or something of 100 pages and you wanted to make 10 copies or a small number of each page. How will that slow up the machine, if at all?
It's hard to answer the question without going into a specific example, because page content and all of those items are important. The basic image buffer is a buffer A3 size. That's the buffer from which we directly print, because your question started with the direct printing from the buffer. That's an A3 size, oversized A3 buffer. However, prior to that, there is a spooling capability that can easily contain many pages. However, you know very well that the next issue is what is the content of the pages. If they're all images, then compression rates are less efficient. If they're all, like in a book, text and drawings, it can be the question of 100, it could be stored. So, but I want to give a qualified answer. I'm not going to state that 100, it's easy, it's straightforward. It depends on the application, and if it's, as I said, typical for what textbooks is, then it could be stored on the buffer capacity.
Stephen Wiltshire, R.R. Donnelly. You referred to customization. What percentage or proportion of the page could be buried on a page-by-page basis without reducing the production speed of the printing unit?
Okay, as Mr. Fons already explained in French, I repeat it. The windowing color, the ratio of variable information towards fixed information will be around 20%. When going to black and white only, it will be much higher, and depending on the contents of the information, especially the form the information is supplied to, for example, if that information is text or barcodes or any vector-defined information, then we will be able to furnish the data and vary the data up to 100%.
Thank you.
Does that answer the question?
Yes.
My name is Van den Boogaard from Holland, from the same printer. My name to Mr. Alphonse Bertels. In one of his sheets, he suggested the idea that there would become separate digital printing centers. My question is it allowed to use the name of Xeikon for that?
First of all, I have not suggested that this happens. It is just a belief that from our side, it is a belief that it will happen through the availability of all new technologies, including digital color presses. Secondly, I don't think that we are involved in any franchising business or the like.
Of course, it could be mentioned that such a shop is using Xeikon equipment, but it's not our ambition to organize, as Mr. Bill said, a franchising network of Xeikon print shops. Was that the question?
The last question was whether it is admitted to use the name of Xeikon for that.
I think that if that is a serious question,
yes,
that should be elaborated at a later stage.
Thank you.
Since it's a web system, is there any restriction on the length of something that can be printed? Can you have, for example, a 6-page A4 fold-out leaflet, double-sided?
of foot. Of course, as this requires a large amount of buffer memory, this goes beyond the standard memory offered with the engine, and there will be some optional modules needed for that, but there is no problem whatsoever to go to that length.
It's even so, I think, if the customer would accept defined by the quality that he needs to reduce somewhat the number of bits used to use number of bits per spot, so that he could use the available memory to, at this moment, with the memory available now, to print 3 such sheets, so that you could have a twice folded sheet having 6 A4 sheets of printing on both sides of the paper. That's now possible at a somewhat, I think, a somewhat reduced quality in the images.
But what we intend to do is really monitor what happens, what comes back as feedback from the market, and the architecture of the system is such that we can move in various directions to support what the market requires. But it's really the feedback from the market that will prevail and that will tell us what to do. But we can move in various directions. We've alluded previously to some directions which are electronic collation, variable data, larger memories. So there are different avenues that we can take.
You have shown a diagram indicating a point where the costs per copy from an offset printing machine and the cost per copy from your machine met, so that below that point your machine will be the one that is obviously the one which saves money. So what is the amount of data to describe that picture, or what is the way the picture should look like, and what is the number of you indicating that way?
As you will understand, there is no general answer to that question. Basically what we have is a very detailed spreadsheet that in which all the application elements are entered, and that gives you the outcome of the comparison. What are the elements of importance, if it's a job that is duplex printed or not duplex printed, the format and so on, because duplex or not duplex, that has an effect on the alternative costs. And then also, because it is a system that is toner based, the page content plays a significant role. In other words, if you have typical pages with 15–20% of images overall, or if you have what I call posters that are completely images, there is a not neglectable cost difference per page. So I will give you some examples of a cost figure for some typical cases that is in, if you have an A4 duplex printing job, the total cost will be, if you print that in a few hundred copies, the total cost will be order of magnitude 25 pfennig for the job completed, with everything included, depreciation, labor, everything.
Swiss francs?
No, German, 0.25 German marks. 2.20, 2.25 German marks, complete cost, everything included. In Belgian francs, about 5 to 5.5 Belgian francs for a job. A4 printed in a few hundred copies, but on both sides of the paper.
Mike Willis at Mixer Generics. Could you indicate what skill level you need to operate the machine and carry out day-to-day maintenance, and what is under operator control?
The philosophy of the system is that the operator should have some insight into the typical issues that arise around getting PostScript files, because that's important. And secondly, it should be someone who has received a good training so that he can take care of some daily and some weekly activities that are preventive in nature. There is no prerequisite as to the specific training. It should be someone who does the items that he has to do in a very consistent and proper way. And the general maintenance of the system is scheduled around preventive maintenance schedules at a specific number of after a specific number of impressions. So it's basically a mixed figure, but we don't expect or we don't require a typical press operator. It's more important that the person has some good knowledge about, let's say, some electronic background is somewhat better than a mechanical background like with press operators.
Jeffrey Stevens at Custer Price. What's the relationship between downtime on the machine and productivity time?
That's a very good question. It is at this moment for us not possible to talk or elaborate about that, since the system is just shortly in beta test phase, and also we don't have experience from several dozens of units. However, it is the goal of the system to have basically as much uptime as possible between the preventive maintenance activities, but we cannot quote any figures now. This would be improper to do now. It is key to the system that it is consistently up, but we cannot put figures on that.
How many print can you do on one drum?
You mean on the lifetime of the drum? Lifetime of a drum, of an electrophotographic drum, depends on two things. First, the care with which it is handled during maintenance. And very often the end of the drum is due to a scratch, also accidents during manipulation of the drum at the occasion of service. But if there is not made an end to the drum life in this way, then the life expectancy that we have now, the minimum life expectancy that we have now is 150 A4. And 150,000 A4 impressions.
And what is the lifetime of the toner cartridge or the toner bottle?
We do not work with the toner cartridge. It is a production system where you not have one fixed supply. It is basically a system with continuous supply that needs refill from time to time from the toner point of view, and developers are replaced at the occasion of preventive maintenance sessions.
Yes, but in the preventive maintenance also that we aim at is the same as for, at this moment our aim is, but experience will learn as if it is longer, or maybe in the first phase somewhat shorter, but the minimum will be 150,000 impressions also for lifetime of the developer mixture. The developer, the toner, is not just a toner, it's a developer consisting of carrier and toner. And this mixture is, well, toner is supplied continuously in relation to the printing rate, but the carrier stays in the machine and it has a finite lifetime, and that's also, we aim at the minimum of 150,000.
So you can recharge it during the work anytime.
You mean the toner?
Yes.
The toner is for every print cycle there is a special container, and the level in that container is one of the several hundred parameters that we continuously monitor. So the operator will be alerted very early what the situation is, so that he can plan his refills accordingly.
Yes, but you will not, in normal conditions, you will not have to fill more than once a day. Huh?
No, definitely.
Okay, I think any additional questions can also be asked later on during reception demonstration that the Xeikon team now invites you to attend. This will not take place in this hall, of course. This will take place in what we call the Canonic van Gessel zaal. Now Xeikon informs you that during the demonstration the machines will not be opened, and so as to allow everyone to see everything, you're kindly asked to stay behind the enclosure, but please do ask any additional questions that you might have. Also zum Abschluss dieses Nachmittags möchte der Vorstand und das Management-Team Sie zu einer Vorführung der Xeikon DCP-1 einladen. Bei weiteren Fragen können Sie gerne jeden der Experten ansprechen, aber Sie möchten Sie darüber informieren, dass während der Vorführung die Maschine nicht geöffnet wird, und Sie bitten Sie, hinter der Markierung stehen zu bleiben, damit die Gäste die Presentation vervolgen kunnen. Dus in naam van alle medewerkers, denk ik ook wel van Xeikon, nodig ik u graag uit om het glas te hebben op het ongetwijfelde succes van hun primeur. Je vous remercie de tout cœur de votre présence et de votre intérêt, and I wish you an agreeable, nice continuation of this afternoon. Thank you.
Dat is de laatste, ja, dat is goed. Ja, dat is goed. Ja, meneer, er komt nu een nieuwe in. Er komt nu een nieuwe in aan handen. Dat is ook bij de eerste pagina.
wil ook graag even zeggen dat voor de achtergrondmuziek mevrouw Karen Peters zorgt. Zij is eerste prijs harp, of heeft liever het eerste prijs harp aan het Lemmens Instituut. Studeert nu ook voor hoger diploma. Heeft al verschillende optredens verzorgd, onder andere in de Muntschouwburg in Brussel en ook verder over België. En zij zorgt voor de serene klank onder deze gotische steen, onder deze geweldsland. Smakelijk. En dus over een kwartiertje ongeveer kan u zich ook aan het presenteren. Dank u wel.
and gentlemen, this is a moment in time to be grateful. And let's express this by toasting on people. Toast on people, first, kind of people, or future customers. They are the ultimate reason for Xeikon to exist. And their satisfactory to products in the near future is the only chance for survival and growth. So, on our customers. A toast on our shareholders, several of them were here present, and on the Flemish government with their organizations, BIPO and EWT, also present here. Without these people, shareholders, and these organizations, without their willingness to take a, I should say, serious risk, financial risk, with a young entrepreneurial group like Xeikon could never have started. So, on the shareholders and on the Flemish government. A toast on our subcontractors and suppliers, and there are many of them that we work with. They contributed considerably to the realization of our prototypes, and we look forward to close and strategic alliance with them in the future. On our subcontractors and suppliers. A toast on the representatives of the press, the trade press and the general press. They will have to spread the good news, and we will be glad to keep them informed about the course of things going at Xeikon on the press. And last but not least, on all members of the fantastic Xeikon team, especially also on their families and on their partners, their wives, husbands and their partners, who had to agree that in the course of the last few months they spent too much time with their mistress, the name of which is Xeikon. On all of you, on all of these people, cheers. Say a few words.
Yes, please allow me to address you a few words, and also myself, I will be brief. You have been listening to different speeches already on your systems to a panel discussion, but on behalf of the shareholders, I want to congratulate Lucien Schamflaar and all this so-called Xeikon team with their achievement that has been presented to you and the whole outside world of Xeikon today. Indeed, you have to keep in mind that about 5 years ago, Lucien Schamflaar tried to convince some industrial companies and a couple of financial companies to participate in what he called a brilliant dream, a brilliant idea that he had. Already at that time, Lucien Schamflaar was reluctant with the technical information of the equipment he wanted to build. And he didn't present an impressive business plan with splendid forecasts. He showed only a small business plan with some milestones and a few drawings in. And what he also mentioned was the amount he needed to achieve that goal. Nevertheless, he succeeded to convince all of us, thanks to his technical background and the expertise he demonstrated, with the market knowledge he showed, and above all, with his persuasive motivation. Now, Today, we are about 5 years later, and thanks precisely to that technical expertise, to that enormous motivation, to the willingness to succeed of Lucien de Schamplager, and of course all the team he built around him, we celebrate today the launching of the DCP-1. For the shareholders, not only this fact itself is a pleasant effect, where we are proud of, but also what satisfies us is the fact that Xeikon reached that goal with less than 70% of that amount in that small business plan he presented. He only needed 70% of that amount to achieve that goal. Lucien, Fons, another Fons, Etienne, Koen, and all the others of the Xeikon team, congratulations. Let's toast on the continuation of your success. Thank you.
Paul, much too flattering for me, but I fully agree with the last sentence that you spoke. All these other people, the ones you named and the many others, they did it. They did it. It's all thanks to them. So, on their good health and in the future.